My name is Nathalie Tonga. I am 32 years old. I live on Magnetic Island in Australia. And right now I work as a waitress, but I am also studying a little bit online and trying to maybe become a meditation teacher one day.
Nice.
So I heard about the project through my dad. He's been sending me lots of links and telling me all about this project. And he's really interested in me getting to learn more about my Indo heritage, because he's always been very curious, and I don't think, like, I haven't really been very interested before now, and then the last 5 years I think it had sparked an interest in me, and then he's been really interested in like making that more, you know, come more alive. So he's been sending me all the links that you've been putting out, and like, oh, this is what he's doing now, and this is what's happening. So yeah, through my dad, basically.
Yeah.
When I first heard about the project, I was really interested because it's just something that, as I grew up in Norway, there are no Indos around. It's just me, my dad, and my grandmother. So it was nice to see that there are more people like me out there, because growing up in Norway, it's like everyone is just blonde, blue-eyed, and I never really looked like anyone. And then I realized there are a lot of people with the same kind of background history and same kind of, that kind of look like me, and that really started to spark my interest a little bit. And I think the older I grow, the more curious I get about where I actually come from. I was born in Norway, and my dad actually came to Norway when he was 5. So he's been in Norway for a long time, born in Groningen, Leeuwarden, I don't know. He was born in Holland. But my great-grandmother was born in Indonesia. So we were all born in different countries, and I ended up in Norway. My family tree is actually quite interesting. I think it was 5 years ago that my father took me to this family gathering in Holland, where his uncle had studied our family lineage way back. And that's when it kind of started to spark an interest with me, because I understood that there are so many people before me. And so I know a little bit about my family tree. And my great-grandfather actually was in a Japanese concentration camp during the war. And he came back, and he never really spoke about it. But then my father's uncle managed to find, after he passed away, he found a suitcase with lots of old photos, letters, from the time where they had to flee from Indonesia and back to Holland.
Yeah, that's pretty detailed.
It is very detailed, and my uncle, well, my dad's uncle actually wrote a book about it. So it's in Dutch, so I can't, unfortunately I can't read it, but it's out there, and he wrote this whole book about the history of my family, which is really nice for me to have, and my father can read to me from it, and I can talk to my grandmother about our history, and it's really, really special to me. It's very special to me because growing up I always felt a little bit different, because in Norway no one really looks like me. But then I realized that I have a family, and they look like me, and they are also part of my history and my heritage. And to be able to see and look at the photos from Indonesia, look at the photos of the boat, look at the photos of the tickets that they came with, and just seeing how I ended up to be me in Norway, it's very cool to me. And I think roots are very important, especially now that I'm older. I don't know why, but there's some longing to understand where I come from. So I know about my family mostly from my father, but my grandmother, obviously, also, she's the one who actually came from Indonesia, from Jakarta to Rotterdam. So I've been talking to her a little bit about it, but I haven't really talked enough. So I think I need to explore her history more and have more conversations about her story more. My grandmother hasn't been a big part of my life for the last 15 years, but then 2 years ago I reconnected with her, and I really, really want to grow that relationship stronger. And I went back home for Christmas this year and I talked to her, and my goal for 2020 is to learn Bahasa Indonesian so that I can speak with her when I get back for Christmas next year. So I'm looking to build that connection with her again and hear about her life, her story. She lives in Norway, so she speaks mostly Norwegian, but she came to Norway when she was 17, I think. And then she lived there until she was 30, 35. So she has spent like a third of her life in Indonesia, a third of her life in Holland, and then a third of her life in Norway, pretty much, I think.
Yeah.
You know what, I'm not really sure why she went to Norway. I think it was because my father's father is German, but he disappeared out of their life early. And then my grandmother met a Norwegian man, so she moved to Norway. And then my father moved to Norway a few years after she had moved. So my father actually spent the first few lives with his Oma in Holland, and then he moved to Norway. No, there's no reason to go to Norway. No, it's a beautiful country, but you know, like, yeah. I don't know of many Indos in Norway. I don't know of anyone except my family. I think what I'm mostly curious about is just her everyday life in Indonesia. And I think what I'm mostly interested in talking to her about is her everyday life in Indonesia before they had to leave. What made her make the decision to go? Because I know that there is still family and friends back in Indonesia from when she was young that didn't go to Holland. So what made them choose to leave is what I would be mostly curious about exploring. Different looking people. I was the brownest kid in school, which I'm not very brown. I'm brown now because I've been in the sun, but I'm not very dark. So I've always felt a bit different, a bit outside, and no one in Norway knows about the Indo history, the Indo culture. So I haven't had anyone to feel connected to in that sense. My mother is blonde, my stepfather is blonde, my sister is blonde. So even in my family, it was just me. So I've always felt like just a little bit different. But then when my dad took me to Holland for the first time, I realized that, you know, just walking the streets, I can see all these people that they look like me. And that was really, really cool for me to see that I'm not the only one. There's so many other people that has the same heritage and the same history. The first time I went to Indonesia, I was kind of curious. I was only 10 years old, so I wasn't, I didn't understand the whole concept, but I remember I was very excited to be where my family was from, but it also felt very, because Indonesia is very different from Norway. So, and people didn't really look like me a lot because they're obviously full-blood Indonesian people and not Indo, like I am more European mix. I look very European as well. So it was kind of like a weird thing to go there and feel like this is my country, but at the same time, I don't really belong there either. So it's a bit strange. It wasn't a bad experience. It was just very different from what I had expected. So now that I've been going back to Indonesia, because my family lives in Norway, I live in Australia, and every time I go back and forth, I stop in Bali. And now that I've been spending more and more time in Indonesia, I can feel a stronger connection to Indonesia now than I did the first time I went. And for me, when I go to Indonesia, it feels safe. It feels like I have a connection there. It kind of feels like home in a weird way, even though it's not, but it still is. Like in my heart, I feel like it is. And I go there and I feel very proud of my heritage and my connection to Indonesia. No, we don't really have any Indonesian traditions, I don't think. I remember my Oma, she used to make really nice food, you know, lumpia. And I remember when I was traveling to Holland when she was still alive. That's my father's oma, not my, yeah. I remember traveling there and I remember eating all the nice foods, but other than that, the traditions have kind of, I don't know anything about them because our life in Norway is very much Norwegian. So I have kind of missed out on that culture that is so rich in Indonesia. I think there's a future for the Indo culture. I think if I think about myself and how my longing to understand more about my heritage is growing in me, then I'm guessing that there are more people out there who has the same longing. And I think we, in our late 20s, early 30s, maybe starting families, I think the sense of wanting to bring that into the next generation is very strong. And I think that not a lot of people know about our history and our heritage, and I think that that is something that will now become more, you know, we are in a generation now we're still in university, we're studying. I know that there's a lot of people who are interested in this, so I think maybe with time my generation will be able to bring that more to the front, like into the light more. So absolutely, if we can connect with our grandparents and they can tell us more about their history and we can maybe bring back to life some of that culture. I eat rice. Yeah. I love rice. It's very strange. My favorite breakfast, nasi goreng. Like, I love eating dinner for breakfast and rice especially. Rice, noodles, tofu, tempeh, satay, like anything Indonesian, I just love it.
So you do make nasi goreng?
I do make nasi goreng.
Yeah. And how do you eat it?
Preferably with my hands, but people look at me like I'm a weirdo when I eat with my hands, but if I can't eat with my hands, I always eat with a spoon. I'm just very, very curious to see where this project goes, and looking at the other interviews and seeing other people in my situation and what their history is and what their vision about this whole culture is and the future for our Indo tribe.
So that was Magnetic Islands, and what a experience was that. It's fantastic. It looked like Indonesia. It had the vibe like Indonesia. Who would think I would find Indo as this place? So I'm very happy, very thankful to have met her and her family, hear her story as well. I couldn't imagine this any better.